Hey guys, Victor here again, coming at you with another retro deck profile for the September 2011 format. Today's focus is going to be Gladiator Beast, which has pretty much been a fan favorite deck since it was created. Unfortunately though, this deck is rogue at best, since one of their key cards, Gladiator Beast Bestiari, has been limited for quite some time and will continue to be limited for years to come. So, with that out of the way, let's jump straight into the deck profile. So, starting off with the monsters, we're going to be playing 3 Gladiator Beast laquari. In most GB builds, you tend to only see 2, but I've opted to go with 3 since this is more of like a control deck with the way that I play it. And there's not really much to say. It's basically just a beat stick. It's 1800 if you normal summon it, 2100 if you special summon it with the GB effect. Yeah, pretty much a staple in every GB deck. Then next, we're going to be playing 2 Gladiator Beast Darius. This card's fantastic in the late game, as it's able to give back any GBs that might have been destroyed earlier by cards such as Torrential, Mirror Force, Dark Hole, pretty much, or Battle, whatever you name it. Darius will get it back, and then after that, you can either leave the GB on the field, or you can contact with it, or Xyz summon, or Synchro, whatever. Just a really good card for the late game to help get back your resources. And then we're also going to be playing 2 Gladiator Beast equeste. This one isn't as important, but it still goes a long way in helping you maintain tempo in order to help beat your opponent, as it's able to get back any GB, spell, or trap that you may have used earlier in the game and add it back to your hand so that you can reuse it. Your main target for this is typically War Chariot, so yeah, not much to say, just a good card to have in your deck. And then after that, we're only going to play 1 Gladiator Beast hoplomus. Honestly, cards like this are pretty ineffective during this format, mainly because of like the popularity of Agents and Master Hyperion just being able to destroy it. So yeah, it's all right, but I would not play more than 1. And then after that, we're going to be playing the 1 Murmillo. When this card special summon, it destroys a monster that's face up. Just a really good way to get rid of pesky monsters that may be troubling you, like Thunder King rai-ohs or any big synchro monster, whatever. It's nice to get. And then we have the 1 Gladiator Beast retiari. This is good for graveyard control, especially in this format where there's a lot of chaos decks that rely on having darks and lights in their grave. So it's nice to have the 1 just to be able to play around those decks and be able to make it more difficult for them to be able to summon chaos monsters. And then for our final Gladiator Beast, we're going to be playing the 1 Bestiari because you're only allowed to have 1. And it's just a good card, especially since it enables you to be able to special summon your Gladiator Beast Darius, which is your main fusion summon. And that's it for the GB lineup. I don't play Test Tiger, and I don't play Secutor, mainly because I feel like those cards aren't as impactful in this current format thanks to hand traps such as Max C and Effect Veiler, especially Effect Veiler, because if you summon a Secutor and you waste all your resources for that, Effect Veiler just completely stops it, and then it's just a 400 monster that's an easy prey for your opponent to get over. But yeah, outside of that, I don't really think you need anything else, especially since this is more like a control-based deck. But that's not it for the monsters, as we're also going to be playing 2 Thunder King rai-oh, just a really solid card to always have, as it's able to turn off so many strategies that are relevant in this metagame. And then along with that, we're going to be playing the 2 Max Cs, because it's 2 Max C, and it's broken. And then we're also going to be playing the 1 Effect Veiler. This card's honestly fairly cuttable. It's not that great, especially since this deck already plays Gladiator Beast War Chariot, but there are situations where you typically don't want to, you don't have the Chariot, or you don't want to use it, and you'd much rather use Veiler, or it also has the added bonus of being a tuner, so you can synchro summon for level 5 monsters, but you typically don't want to do that in this type of deck, since synchroing with your Gladiator Beast is usually like a waste of resources. You only want to save it for like as a last resort. And then we have 1 more monster, being Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. This is a fantastic card. That's a really good tech in this type of deck because of the fact that it's able to half your opponent's monster's attack and defense. So this basically makes it so that your GBs will always be able to get an attack off, no matter what monster they may be facing. And it's really important in helping deal with cards such as Stardust Dragon, as lowering Stardust to 1250 makes it incredibly manageable to deal with. And yeah, it's just a really good card. And much like Veiler, the option to synchro summon with this card does come up, but it's very rare and you really should not be focusing on that. And with that, we have the monster lineup, and now we can finally move on to the spell portion of it. Now, despite the spell lineup being pretty small compared to the monster lineup, it's still very important in helping accomplish your game plan. And so because of that, we're going to be playing 3 Pot of Duality. This is just a really good card in any type of stun deck, which this deck is, especially because of the fact that The consistency that this card alone offers you is more than enough to justify playing it, and you honestly don't even really care about not being able to special summon. So 3 duality and GBs is a must. And then next, we're only going to be playing 2 Gladiator Beast Probing Ground. You don't really need it thanks to the consistency that Pot of Duality gives you, but you still want the option to add a specific GB from your deck to your hand. So I only opted to play 2 instead of 3. And then next, we're going to be playing 2 Forbidden Lance. At this point, this is basically like a modern Shrink, but it's a lot better because it protects your monsters from being able to be destroyed or affected by spells and traps, which is something that Shrink never did. And the 800 attack loss is normally more than enough to get over whatever monster you're attacking. And then after that, we're just going to be playing 1 of power spells. So we're going to be playing the 1 Mystical Space Typhoon because it's MST, the 1 Heavy Storm, the 1 Monster Reborn, the 1 Dark Hole, and the 1 Book of Moon. And then compared to the others, Book of Moon's actually pretty important because it helps you set any opposing floodgates, such as Thunder King rai-oh, and then it allows you to have easy access to being able to tag out your GBs. So you should always be playing Book of Moon in this type of deck. And with that, that's the spell lineup, and now we can finally move on to the traps. So kicking off the trap lineup, we're going to be playing 2 Gladiator Beast War Chariot. I personally don't feel like you really need the 3rd one because it's kind of a brick at times, and plus, this card's easily recyclable through cards such as Gladiator Beast Equeste. 2 is just probably the perfect number for me, but you can play 3 if you want. And then after that, we're going to be playing 2 Dimensional Prison. This card's really good in this type of deck because it's able to get rid of key threats like TG Rush Rhino or Thunder King rai-oh, or get rid of some copies of your opponent's Tengu. Just a really good card that helps free up your opponent's board for your GBs to be able to successfully attack. And then we're also going to be playing 2 Solemn Warnings along with the 1 Solemn Judgment. It's the Solemn Brigade, pretty much played in every single deck if you could afford it, as I always say. Just incredibly broken cards for this time period. And then after that, we're going to be playing the 1 of Mirror Force because it's Mirror Force, the 1 of Torrential Tribute. Just a keynote about Torrential, it's a little bit difficult to use properly in this deck because you don't really want to Torrential yourself and lose all your resources. So you typically just want to wait until your opponent overcommits or you're in danger of losing the game before you flip this. So just keep that in mind when using it. And then we also play the 1 of Trap Dust Shoot because it's literally an auto win card if you draw it going first, as being able to gain full knowledge of your opponent's hand goes a long way in helping you secure the win. And then our final trap card would be Starlight Road. This is a trap deck, or a stun deck if you may want to call it that. So Starlight Road is huge as it's able to protect you from cards like Heavy Storm, Torrential, Mirror Force, Dark Hole, all of which pretty much just stomp this deck. And once you're able to get the Stardust out, you can confidently start picking your opponent's back row and their main board apart and just completely control the game. Typically, if Starlight Road resolves in this type of deck, you've already won. It's just an incredibly powerful card that this deck is able to take advantage of. And with that, that's the main deck. It's 40 cards like always, and we can finally move on to the extra deck. Now, when it comes to the extra deck, there's only one card that matters, and that is Gladiator Beast Geysaris. This is the single most important Gladiator Beast monster in your extra deck, or just single most important monster in your extra deck, as you're able to special summon it off of fusioning Geysaris and any Gladiator Beast monster back into the deck. And then what it does is it destroys up to 2 cards, and then when it battles, you can special summon 2 more. Resolving a Geysaris is pretty much game ending in a lot of situations, as it gets rid of so many resources for your opponent while building up yours. The only downside is we only play 2 because of the fact that we only have the 1 bestiari. And so if our opponent is able to somehow get rid of bestiari through cards like Dimensional Prison or Bottomless Trap Hole or whatever, this card's literally useless. So yeah, with that in mind, try to protect your bestiari as well as you can in order to be able to summon the Geysaris in order to help you win the game. And then after that, we're also going to be playing 2 Gladiator Beast Heraclinos. You typically never summon more than 1, and even then, the one that you do summon is very rare. This is pretty much like a win more card, or a card that you're going to be using to secure the win after you already pummeled away your opponent's resources. Not much to say. It's just a really solid game ender. And then we play 1 more Gladiator Beast fusion in Gladiator Beast Asadari. It's a 2500 vanilla, essentially. So you're typically only making this if you want to be able to crash with cards like Stardust Dragon, or the monsters that you currently have are fairly weak. So yeah, not much to say. Esadari's Esadari. Typically don't make him. You typically always want to go for Geysaris, but sometimes situations come up where you do have to make him. And then after that, we just play a bunch of synchro monsters, but as stated previously, you pretty much never want to make these because then you're losing resources. So if you are making these, it's because you're desperate or you just want to flex on your opponent. And with that in mind, we're going to be playing the one, Armory Arm, fairly easy to make. Just takes one Veiler plus any of your level 3s like Murmillo or Retiari. Cataster, because it's Cataster, make with Veiler or any of your level 4s like Darius, laquari, etc. You play the one Brio, easy to make with Gale and any of your level 3s. And because we play Gale, that gives us access to Blackwing Armed Wing and Blackwing Armor Master. Armor Master is okay because it can't be destroyed by battle, so if you need to stall for time, you make this. And then Armed Wing is good if you want to try to go for game because it does piercing damage. And then we also play another level 7 in the form of Black Rose Dragon, just in case we need to reset the board. It doesn't come up often, but sometimes it will, so it's just nice to have the option. And then we also play the one Scrap Dragon. The only way you're realistically going to make this is if you have Esadari plus Gale. And yeah, not much else to say. It's just a nice option to have, even though it only comes up once every, who knows how long, once in a blue moon, I guess. But something that does come up a lot is Stardust Dragon, because of the fact that we play Starlight Road. So of course you have to play at least one Stardust Dragon minimum, and just being able to bring this out goes a long way in helping ensure you win the game. And then we're also going to be playing one Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier. You typically are only able to make this with 2 level 4s plus a Veiler. So if you have like a GB from your previous turn, you attack, you go into Darius, bring back another level 4, and then you normal summon a Veiler for turn to make this. I mean, if that resolves in your type of deck, you've already won the game. So yeah, not much to say. It's just nice to have. And then lastly, we play one Steel Swarm Roach. We do play a lot of level 4s, and this is mainly just for like the late game, where in those situations that like the only way you're losing is if you're playing against something like Chaos and they drop like a BLS or a Chaos Sorcerer, Hyperion, whatever. You just make this and you're pretty much safe to win the game. And with that, that's the Gladiator Beast deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. So, see ya!